We're keeping tabs on any developments and reaction to Friday's terror attacks. You can also head to rt.com as well for live updates on the situation. Another story very much in the headlines this weekend. After months of tense negotiations with European creditors, Greece is now letting its people decide what to do next. The Prime Minister has called for a referendum on July the 5th on whether or not to accept the bailout terms.
Ελληνίδες Έλληνες, στο εκβιαστικό τελεσίγραφο για την αποδοχή από τη μεριά μας μιας αυστηρής και ταπεινωτικής λιτότητας δίχως τέλος και χωρίς προοπτική να ορθοποδήσουμε ποτέ κοινωνικά και οικονομικά, σας καλώ να αποφασίσετε κυρίαρχα και περήφανα, όπως ακριβώς προστάζει η ιστορία των Ελλήνων.
His finance minister supported the idea, tweeting that Athens is giving a boost to democracy. And Yanis Varoufakis looked optimistic indeed as he arrived at the meeting of Eurozone finance ministers over the Greek crisis earlier today. But his colleague's mood was less upbeat.
It's also the question to know what is the state of mind of the government when entering in the referendum campaign.
Let me just say that I'm very negatively surprised by today's decisions by the Greek government. That is a sad decision for Greece because it has closed the door on further talks.
I think there is a clear majority, come consensus inside the Eurogroup that an extension of the program is out of the question.
The Greek Parliament has yet to ratify that vote, but queues are already forming at cash machines as people rush to withdraw their savings. Here's what people in Athens that we spoke to think about the referendum.
We don't want any more measures. Things will be better after the referendum.
People are not in a position to decide. It is the government that knows more about this issue.
I was very happy because he offered the people their dignity, because all these proposals that were offered to us were not viable measures for our country.
Economic analyst Michael Pento expects Greek voters to reject the bailout conditions.
The Syriza government was put in place for one reason, and it was to end austerity. So now all of this additional austerity that's being forced upon the Greeks by the Troika is going to go to a referendum. And I have to ask you, if any more austerity is imposed on the Greek people, how could that possibly pass the vote? Because certainly the toll that's going to be extracted on the Greek people from this austerity measure, that's going to make them go continually back to the Troika and ask for continual bailouts over and over again throughout the years, is going to be more harmful than going back to the drachma. They default on the debt, they try to live within their means, provide themselves a primary budget surplus as best they can, a hard money policy, and that is the best tack to take for the Greek people.
Coming up here on RT International, lining up to escape. Kiev's blockade of eastern Ukraine sees car queues stretch for many kilometres at a checkpoint at the breakaway region's border. Also, a meeting between the Australian Prime Minister and his security chief causes some red faces as both pose in front of an outdated Islamic State map. Same-sex marriage has been legalised across the entire United States following an historic Supreme Court ruling.
It's a victory for the allies and friends and supporters who spent years, even decades, working and praying for change to come. And this ruling is a victory for America.
Well, here's how people responded online. The social media heat map giving you some idea of, well, I suppose in the major population areas, of course, they were chatting about it a lot, but people really wanted to express their opinions on what is a landmark decision end of the day. Even the White House was lit up in the rainbow colours of the LGBT flag to mark the rulings, you can see there. And the news also, of course, dominated the headlines in the States, too.
Hear the cheer in the crowd. A very dramatic moment here, a 5-4 decision written by Justice Anthony Kennedy.
The Supreme Court and this landmark ruling, the court making same-sex marriage legal in this country across every state in this nation.
Frankly, it's hard to watch that and not get emotional. Those people there are not pariahs. They are patriots.
Not everyone's happy with the ruling, though. Some worry about the future for religious freedoms. Others worry about the government intruding in matters where they say it doesn't belong. Others, though, congratulated same-sex couples because now they can, tongue-in-cheek, be legally as miserable as everybody else. And there was negative media reaction too.
Our government is recognizing sin. This court is endorsing sin. And that's what homosexuality is. It's a sin against God.
Given the choice of obeying God or the government, I believe Christians will obey God, even if there is hell to pay.
One American conservative Christian group's angry at the Supreme Court ruling for overruling local laws. It says the decision therefore forces millions of people to embrace same-sex marriage regardless of how they'd voted to define marriage in their state as being solely between a man and a woman. And another Christian group, Alliance Defending Freedom, also condemned the decision.
It's really disappointing when 5 lawyers on the Supreme Court overruled the voices of over 300 million Americans who were engaged in an honest and earnest debate about marriage. The Supreme Court overstepped its bounds and took it from them.
The same religious campaign group also says friction over same-sex marriage will remain, whatever the Supreme Court says.
I don't think there's going to be a split in society, but there are going to be continuing battles and discussions as we wrangle with these issues, because the Supreme Court's word is not the final word on this. The Supreme Court can say what it thinks the Constitution means. Of course, the Constitution doesn't speak to the question of whether same-sex so-called marriages are required, but the court cannot change the true nature of marriage, and it will be up to Americans to discuss and continue to debate this issue and to decide how to go from here. And I am hopeful that we will be able to rebuild a strong and vibrant marriage culture going forward.
Still ahead for you, get a free bus ride, but only if you dress the part. We talked to the anti-discrimination campaigner who's exposing Sweden's double standards.